What's up, guys and gals? My name is Splattercat, and we are here with Shining Rock Studios' Banished. This is going to be a series that we're starting up, and to be fair, this is a series that I already started up and was not doing so amazing at. So instead of like plugging forward and just kind of headbutting my way through a problem like I typically do, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the series so that you get like the best of both worlds. Obviously, I'm still playing Banished, and then B, I'll hopefully be playing it a little bit better. I've got a lot more time on my hands now. I felt like the last series was maybe a little bit rushed out with regards to like I had to go out of town for the weekend for a wedding, and so I feel like I may have mashed the videos out a little too quickly. And so in order to do right by you guys, in order to do you right, I'm gonna go ahead and start the series over. We're gonna make a new location to live at, so let's go ahead. We're gonna click the new button, and this is gonna be, I don't know, Helgar. Oh, I can't do what? No apostrophes. The inner English major inside of me is really just kind of shaking with trepidation right now. In any case, Helgar's Hole is going to be our new place. We're going to take a new map seed, and we're going to go ahead and start on, I don't know, like moderate, I guess. I feel like if I make the game harder, I'm going to make myself look super foolish. Like I'm just going to be bumbling around the forest, starving to death, chewing on mushrooms that are inedible, all that kind of fun stuff with no pants, obviously. I mean, you can't include pants in any situation like that. But let's go ahead and load up Helgar's Hole. We'll take a look at where the game decides to start us off. There is a little bit of RNG early on in the game, where if you started a rough location, you definitely started a rough location, you can find yourself really kind of hurting in the early game. So taking a look around, I'm going to pause the game, and you'll see here that we've started out with a modicum of villagers. We've started out with a reasonable amount of these little guys, and we've put ourselves, well, I won't say that I love this location. I won't say that. In fact, this location is very, very subpar in a lot of ways. But I will say that the subpar nature, or kind of the terrible nature of this entire location, like if we had started over here, I'd say, oh, this game's going to be too easy. So I think what our real goal is going to be right now is, if you look at this weird sort of little jut of land we're on at the moment, it's really not an optimal place to be. Simply because there's not a lot of flat space, there's not a lot of forest, and there's not a lot of things to work with regards to natural resources. However, I think this will be a fun map, simply because it'll be a bit of a struggle in any case. So taking on board what I know, God, I mean, it's almost worthwhile to just build bridges and move a stockpile over to maybe like over here somewhere. Like this would be really where you want to make everything. This little spot here, I'm limited with regards to like space. I'm limited with regards, I could turn this area into a usable space, and I'll talk about why in just a moment. So the first things you want to focus on in this opening year, I know that this is all going to sound like sort of like deja vu to those of you who are here for the first like whack that I made at this game. I like to feel like I whacked the game, like I tried really hard. I mean, it was smiling when I got done, so I figured I whacked it. Let's go ahead and I'm going to speed things up to ×5. I'm going to try and avoid the urge to do things at ×10, but I'm going to give into that right away. And after, like, obviously I'm going to preface by saying that in the first place, then I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways because why not? And so there it is. I've gone ahead and sped up the game. I'm going to clear out this space here, and there's a couple things we want to focus on in the early game. First and foremost is we want to worry about our food. So if we go down to our little gear menu right here, and we click on that, it's going to give us our first menu that's really, really important. And you'll forgive me, my little fraps number is kind of impeding me from seeing the name of our town. I forgot where we are because I can't read it now. But in any case, we've started with about 1,800 food, and that's going to be enough food to not even get us through like a couple seasons. So we really need to get on that right now before people just start eating it up too rapidly. Additionally, you'll notice that everybody in our town has this little house symbol above their head. That's because they're all pining for a location in which to lay their hats down. They're all rolling stones at the moment, and frankly, that's a hard life to live. You know, Keith Richards is probably the cure for all diseases, if you really think about it. But let's chop some trees down. God, I'm going to try and get a market right here, but at the moment, this is a really rough spot to start. A very, very rough spot to be. And then the other thing that I'd like to do is let's go ahead while we have everybody working. And I'm going to get rid of all this iron down here. And we also need to expand our stockpile a bit because we're not going to have space. And so that'll do right there, I suppose. And maybe another one on this side too, just to ensure that we have enough stockpiles, because one of the big things that you run into in this game is if they don't have anywhere to take all of the stuff that's laying around, they seem to just hit like this weird neuroses where they fall over twitching and screaming and being like, oh my god, I can't put my stone in a dirt lot. Why? I can't continue my life properly. And so we will provide them with the ample dirt lots that they require for all of their storage needs. Now then, we need all this to go away, because the first thing that we build is going to be a food resource, and we're going to start this off in a hunter-gatherer fashion. And so there it is. We're going to put her right there for now. I mean, there's not going to be... We don't have a lot of space to work with right now, so this is not going to be an optimal placement. And honestly, I should probably preface, so I'm going to start this series off by saying, like, my name is Splattercat. If you're new to the Nerd Castle, there's a few things you probably want to know before you kind of strap in for the long term with this series. I'm going to place buildings in weird spots. It's just going to happen. And in the interest of saving you from just kind of wearing down your molar enamel, like, I don't want to hurt your dentistry. I really don't. Like, as a human being, I don't want to damage your teeth. And so I'm just going to let you know now, buildings are going to go in weird spots. It's probably going to bother you. They're going to stay there. I'm not going to move them. They're going to stay in their very, very inefficient locations because I am all about aesthetics. But in any case, we're going to start this off. We're going to get rid of all this iron. Well, let me talk about what the resources are. So this is iron. This is stone. These are trees. And this right here is a pre-tree. That right there? Pre-tree. Baby tree. But let's move on. Once this iron is out of the way, the next thing that I'm going to be building is going to be a forestry lodge down and in here to make sure that all of these trees are being replanted as we use them, because there are some things you need to know. If you're going to be hunting and gathering, you need forests in order for the deer to come back, and you also need forests in order for herbs to grow and for the forage resources to grow. Come on, guys, work with me here. Get the job done faster. I don't have any builders, do I? That's the problem. See, I started talking and I'm already making mistakes. Let's go ahead and put that down there. And we need to assign some builders. So there's 3 builders right there, so hopefully we can jump off quick and make up for the fact that we are in late summer already and I haven't built any houses. Oh dear. This could really become a problem for us. So that was the other thing that I was going to talk about. Is the fact that we need about 5 houses to start the game out. And I put those little spaces in between the houses because it makes me happy. Don't question it, just go along with it, roll with it. I like to space things. I really do. Spacing things makes me very, very happy. I think if we can get the gatherers set up before winter and then a couple houses up, we'll be okay. I'm behind the 8 ball at the moment just because I was talking and I left the game on fast forward. And so I've made kind of one of those early game mistakes. Now, one of the mistakes I made in my last playthrough is that you really don't want to put down farming land in your first season. And so one of the things that I kind of learned about farming is that farming is more supplementary in this game. Like, you're going to need a lot. Oops, I closed down. Where did that go? Stay there. You be where I need you to be. We're going to assign 4 people. So these 2 little clickers, what do these do? This is how many spaces you have open in the job. So it'll say 0 of 4 or 2 of 4. This is how many total people you want in this job. This little button right here shows the production statistics for the last season. And this little button right here centers you. That one pins it like up in a corner so it doesn't go away ever again. We don't need it right now, so I'm going to leave it where it is. The next thing I need to do is put down a forester's lodge, but not before I get a wood chopper going, because firewood is a resource that's going to be very, very valuable to us in the future. So let's go ahead and put that down right there. And I'm going to give them a couple minutes to really sort of work on building houses. I'm not going to queue up any more jobs. We've got food coming in. And I just want to make sure we have 5 houses. We're in the middle of autumn right now. I wanted to get the N in there. I always thought that ancillary N at the end of autumn was kind of confusing. Autumna! But in any case, we need to get these houses built. You should see this big yellow marker around their heads disappear as we get more and more houses. You can click on any of the houses and it'll show who's living in them, what their age is. It'll also have their inventory. Your individuals do stockpile things, and they are really kind of assholes about it. That's one of the things that you should really, really be aware of, is that if you take a look at what your villagers do, they will take, for example, this guy right here has taken 139 potatoes. Does he need 139 potatoes? Absolutely not. But he's taken pretty much everything on our stockpile and put it in his house because he's just a jerk like that. And unfortunately, there's no mechanic in the game that allows you to take a random individual and go door knocking and being like, hey, I heard you're stockpiling food, and just show up with a medieval shotgun, which is basically just a slingshot. Now, we need to, and kind of demand to get the food back. I needed to finish the diatribe, sorry. But as it stands right now, we've got our herbalism hut up, or our gatherer's hut, so we're hunting and gathering. Everything should be good right there. The hunter-gatherers are really, really good at doing their job, so that's one thing that you want to be aware of, is I actually think they're probably in line for a little bit of a nerf. They're almost too good at gathering, by comparison to the fact that really farming kind of falls short by comparison to just staying in this weird nomadic lifestyle. There's no way I need another house right now. 5 houses has always worked before, but maybe they're just like breeding more rapidly than I expected. Let's go ahead and put in some roads. Need about that much space right there in order to make it work. I mean, it's not going to be enough, but still, we'll connect the road right there. And I guess we'll throw in one more house, since that appears to be like what they're pining for right now. So there's a couple more houses. It looks like some people have not selected a home, even though there's vacancies in all of these houses. I guess everybody's locked them out. Like, they're my potatoes. You can't have any. No vacancies. And if these guys survive the winter, they're going to be some tough bastards. I'll leave it there. They're going to be some mean old mothers, some bad mama jammas, to quote the old Motown classic. Alright, so there it is. Everybody should be happy. He Steve, just in case you forgot, as opposed to She Steve. She Steve, not that popular in our village. It's a very backwards time in which people are not accepted for their lifestyle choices, but He Steve, he fits right in. God, that's a weird name. I try not to make fun of people like for their names, but that's a weird one. That's an odd one. So, let's go over what's been happening right here so that everybody's on the same page. First and foremost, we have a lot of iron. Like everything, this stockpile has really become sort of cumbersome to be around. He's kind of accumulated so much iron that everything he does is just really kind of steeped in irony. He takes after the things that he contains, and we can't really affect that at all. So, in the first season, up here at the top, it'll tell you what season we're in, what year we're in right there. I almost said what day we're in, strangely enough. What the temperature is. It's quite cold right now. I'm going to assume that that's reporting in Celsius, although it looks more like Fahrenheit to me, because if it was kind of snowing, you would expect it to be more... Yeah, I would expect it to be more around 0 if it was snowing, but it can snow at 14 degrees Celsius. I don't know. I don't come from a place with snow, so I'm probably not the best person to ask. The last time it snowed where I live was in 1989. It's been a long, long time since we've seen any of that white stuff. Well, since we've seen that white stuff that doesn't go in your nose. But anyways, it's 14 degrees something. I'm going to say Fahrenheit because, I don't know, Imperial makes me happy. It makes me happy in kind of a defiant sort of way. Even though I'm a scientist, typically I use metric. Today, I'm going to go with Imperial. Why not? Over here, what we need to do is make sure that this forest doesn't go anywhere. We've got public health over here, and I was talking about what we had accomplished in our first year. We got a woodcutter up. That's the one thing you're definitely going to need because of this resource right here. Without firewood, your people freeze to death. Number 2, you need food. Without food, people get very, very skinny. They get very, very grumpy, and then they have this tendency to fall over and fertilize the earth. Not the best hobby to partake in, at least not for you personally. Like, obviously, fertilizing the ground is cool if you're not the one having to do it with your own self. Other things we want to accomplish now. Well, we want to make sure that we have a sustainable source of wood. And that's a big problem. Looking at our starting area, there's not a lot of equitable space in which to put down logging operations where they can both replant and supplant trees. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to make like a light one down here because this is almost enough space for a forestry lodge. We'll be making use of probably about 80% of the land. And beyond that, we've really got about 2 years to figure out where we're going to be getting sustainable wood from. Which, there's a joke in there somewhere, so I'll just give you kind of the obligatory giggity before you think about it too much. That's a running stereotype with LPers, is that we really, in city building games, you have to make a wood joke every now and again. And so there it is. I've made the wood joke. We can move forward amicably. We can shake hands and be like, aha, I see you have made a wood joke. I make wood jokes too on my channel. And so I think we've accomplished all the things that we need to accomplish in our first year. Our second year, what I'd like to do, depending on our population growth. So population growth in this game is kind of a mixed bag. You've got adults and children here, and so the children will become adults over time, as they are known to do. And depending on the population growth, we have 7 extra laborers, which means we do have a little bit of leeway for some extra projects. Obviously, I want about 4 of those to become foresters. And so I think what I'll do now is let's start with the forestry lodge, which is going to go... I think that's about the best I'm going to be able to do with it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in place now. I'd rather have it done at the moment because looking at our log supply, that is going to be a deficit that we need to make up. I feel like we're off to a better start in this playthrough, and that's really due to the fact, so if you wanted to compare and contrast my 2 playthroughs, I took the other one down, more than likely. By the point that this one has gone up, I probably took the other one down. But essentially what I really did in my last playthrough is I really tried to focus on farming, and that backfired on me. Focusing on farming is not what you want to do in your first year because you're simply not going to make it. You're engaged in a race against time. You're in a race against time and Mother Nature. And really, Mother Nature doesn't pull any punches when it comes down to the point there. We also need to come up with a stone supply, and for now, I think we can just kind of get it off the ground in these random localities. So there it is right there. We'll kind of grab stone from there. We've got plenty of iron, so I'm not going to get any of my laborers overly engaged in that sort of business in our second year. So we're firmly into our second year now, and what do we want to accomplish here? Well, in our second year, I think we really want to put our foot down, and we want to start producing products. And so in our second year, the things that I'd like to accomplish is I'd like to get a blacksmith, I'd like to get a hunter's lodge, and I'd like to get a tanner, or I'm sorry, a tailor. Those are the 3 buildings that I would really like to lay down during the course of this. And they're like, all right, turn on that berry white. They're definitely ready to be laid down. So I think that's what we'll engage in. I'm going to put the hunter's lodge. As you can see, there's deer running around in the forest. Delicious, delicious deer. Especially that little baby one right there. He looks the most delicious. But I'm going to let him mature for a little while because I prefer my meat aged to a fine, well, like a fine wine, I guess. Not to a fine wine. At the point that your meat becomes wine, that feels sort of like it might taste disgusting. But anyways, our builders are building, our laborers are laboring, our foresters are foresting, obviously. They have a couple of options I didn't explain. So this little button right here allows you to turn work on and off at a location. Let me take a look at how our production's been going. We've had kind of a rough season here. We've only managed to pull about 320 out, whereas the previous season we were definitely doing about 1,300, 1,400. So hopefully we can turn that around in the late game. I don't know if we will, but it's something that we need to accomplish. Another thing that we need is we need an herbalist lodge. Just something else to be aware of. So an herbalist lodge, what does that do? Well, she goes out and gathers us weeds so that we can all get high whenever we feel sick. That's pretty much the point of it as far as I can tell. Medicinal remedies around here are kind of limited to those that you can either smoke or bleed out of yourself. And given that choice, I think we'll probably go with the former rather than the latter. They're good. We're producing firewood. The other option that I haven't explained is this log limit. That allows you to set a threshold at which they'll stop producing whatever it is that the building produces. So you can put that up at 300, and he'll stop doing work when he reaches 300 logs as a total amount in your stockpile. They are felling trees, which is good. Our gatherers are gathering. It may be simply due to the fact that they have this big open space right here, and that's kind of messing with their ability. Well, they're still gathering. They're doing their best. But we're definitely not going to have as profitable as a season right here. It's going to be a little bit rough. With that in mind, let's go ahead and look for alternative sources of food. And I think I'm going to go with the Hunter's Lodge now. And once again, this isn't going to be the most efficient placement, simply based on the fact that we started off in a really, really rough location. This mountain right here is really kind of just fisting us over and over and over again. And whereas I don't feel like that was in my contract, like really when they pulled me into this strange hotel room and there was a lot of cameras set up, and I was like, like there are things that I'm willing to do and there's things that I'm not. I feel like I really kind of laid the law down on fisting, and then at the same time, like in the heat of the moment, they're kind of channeling the Asia here. And so in the heat of the moment, they were kind of telling me where my heart went, and we just ended up kind of doing things that I really didn't want to. And so I feel as though this mountain has kind of abused me, and rather than looking into a lawyer, I think I'm just going to be embarrassed about it for the rest of my life and hope that it doesn't get posted on the internet. I think we're in a pretty good spot right now. I mean, I'm feeling fairly... Our food is not looking incredible, but we are surviving. We've got enough tools left over at the moment. Our housing situation, I'm probably not going to build houses for another season or so, just to make sure, because the problem is that as you create more space... So what I've noticed, this is just me perception-wise, I could be wrong, is that if you don't build houses, people seem to stop breeding. And so you can kind of use an artificial birth control method here, rather than just like assuming that everybody has terrible teeth and probably smells like a paper mill, which I'm sure that people in colonial times smelled pretty awful, but that's beside the point. What I will say is that you kind of have an artificial switch for birth control in that you can stop building houses and people will stop being able to have children. And you can find like a nice pleasant equilibrium in which you have like your population being replaced, but at the same time, you don't have too many people showing up kind of being like, I need a house, and now I'm going to bitch and moan and take all of your stockpiles. Come on, Hunter's Lodge. Complete yourself. We need the food, and we need the leathers, too. Another thing that might be an efficient way to spend my time... There we are. So we're going to go ahead and strap everybody in. So it only took 3 right there. That leaves us with 2 extra laborers, which is fine, just fine, in my opinion. I'm going to give myself a few moments to figure out whether or not... Did I leave this on times 10? That's why it feels like the game is playing so rapidly. That's why it feels... I really felt like the game was kind of running out of control on me, and I want to make sure that I play the game effectively, but at the same time, I'm like entertaining you guys. Like, that's really the point here at the Nerd Castle, is I don't pride myself on playing games well. I kind of subscribe to the Jesse Cox method, where I just kind of do it poorly, and then I just make light of that fact and hope that people stick around. And so in any case, we've got 3 extra laborers. You can see that right here. There it is right there. 3 laborers remaining. Our food stocks are definitely dropping rapidly, but I think that's just due to the fact that everybody's kind of stockpiling pre-winter. The reserve of firewood is also low. Okay, well, I think we just need to stay put right now then. Let's kind of just hang tight, and if we make it through this winter, I think we should be in a decent space. Right now, the travel time that we're facing, a lot of these guys are having to walk a long ways to drop things off, and I think that might be hurting us a tad. I do feel as though we should probably get in here and get some more wood then. The forester is not getting things done quite as rapidly as I would like, and that's cool. It takes him a little bit of time to get rolling. 82 logs. So yeah, he's trying, and as you can see, he's planting trees now in this big blank spot, which is going to help us out in the long run. But in the short run, at the moment, there are a lot of things to be done. So we're kind of in that busy period where we're building that main street. You know, every town has that main street in the United States, and like they always have a plaque at one end, and it's like, here in this spot is where Arthur Chester Fieldington Worthy stopped after deciding he was sick and tired of being hungry, and he was also tired of having a wet rag tied around his forehead, and he decided, you know what, the Pacific Ocean is just too far away. I think I'm just gonna live in Nevada. And like that plaque is like in every town, and even if you're not in Nevada, that plaque is there, where they're just like, starving and hungry, 5 huddled men and women showed up in 1862 in the hopes of a better life, and then promptly died of cholera. It's just like, people, they force you, when you're a kid here in the United States, you really like study that colonial period, and then also the period of the settlers like all going westwards, starting with like Kansas and Kentucky, and then moving their way out after the Louisiana Purchase. And like really, it did not end well for anybody. It was a horrible. I'm really kind of glad that if I woke up one day and I was in the 1800s and on a wagon, traveling, just in the westward direction, I'd be like, oh, we're about to die of dysentery. And that's really, I think a lot of people just kind of died of shotgun ass. And it's the only way that you really had, like, you had to shit yourself out of a terrible situation. Like, you're completely there, you can't die by any other means, and so really you're just going to kind of poop your way out of this life, because that's the only method left to you in order to survive. Food is looking a little bit low, and I was hoping this Hunter's Lodge would really kind of lay down the victuals, and it is. They've done 320 food. I think I'm going to break the episode off right here, because I feel like we've accomplished what I set out to accomplish in this first episode. We are still a little bit rough around certain edges, but I think in my 3rd year, we've got 3 laborers, so I think I'm going to start a farm up in the next go. We're going to start expanding out in this direction. I haven't really thought of how I want my municipality to be arranged. We've got several mountain ranges that are really just kind of putting the screws to us right now with regards to the layout of our land. And it's really kind of making us look unprofitable at the moment. I mean, that's the lowdown is that we're in a spot where the game has really decided to put us in struggle mode. So I'm going to think about where I want my main township to be. I mean, obviously the easy choice is maybe to make a little jump right here, build our way across, and then this is kind of our promised land right here. This is Canaan. This is the milk and honey over here that we want to get at if we can. But in any case, I'll see you guys in the next episode. My name is Splattercat. Thank you for stopping by to watch Shining Rock Studios Banished. If you're not aware, I've decided to reset this series and see if I can't play a little bit better this time. I'll see you guys in the next episode, and take care out there, everybody.